International Day Against Animal Testing. Animals are not goods. Animals deserve more than being tortured in labs. Learn more. You think there are more important things? I disagree, because there are billions of animals who die each day because of animal testing, and billions of animals who suffer.
There are topics like that. You're either for or against them. Animal testing is one that raises people's passions. For these militants gathered outside the City Hall in Paris, researchers are archaic torturers using their barbaric methods on animals.
It's a sentient being, the same as you. It shouldn't suffer just because it has 4 legs.
In the labs, the white coats have been swearing for decades that their guinea pigs are essential to science.
How are you? How are you, big girl?
They maintain that animal testing is a necessary evil, with several dozen pharmaceutical laboratories even recently committing to better communicate their animal testing. It's very interesting. Among the signatories are AstraZeneca, GSK, Lilly and Pfizer.
Et Pfizer.
It's very complicated.
I don't know what to tell you. Sorry. At Pfizer, there's no spokesperson.
Goodbye. Everybody avoids our questions, and everywhere the doors are closed. Aude, Canal Plus.
Philippe Delise, Genopole.
So can we see the animal house that you manage?
No.
Is it around here?
No, it's not accessible to lay people, and it's not around here.
To lay people? Why this silence? The pharmaceutical industry is on edge. It's not only accused of mistreating its animals, but the methods themselves are more and more disputed by the scientific community. Flawed results.
You can alter the outcome to achieve the results that you want to achieve.
Public money wasted.
I would say 2/3 are actively wrong. What they describe doesn't represent underlying biological truth.
Far from fearing sanctions, we discover that researchers often do whatever they like in their laboratories.
The law is not enforced. This is the disaster.
In the 4 corners of the world, we went to find the rare researchers who are breaking the codes of silence on experimentation practices. Behind the arguments on the surface, you will see that they cling on to the animal testing model for reasons that have nothing to do with science. A stroke of luck. My investigation into animal testing begins in Mauritius. Honeymoons, leisure time. I'm far away from needles and white coats. I haven't come for the coconut trees. I'm here for the local star, the macaque. Look, oh, yeah. The animals aren't particularly wild. I don't know if I can get close. Hey, monkey. I'm not the only one to chase after them. Researchers from all over the world come here to get their primates. Every year, over 7,000 of them are destined for laboratories. Mauritius is one of the biggest suppliers of macaques in the world. Nevertheless, the country worships these animals. Next to this sacred lake, Hindus regularly come to commune with Hanuman, their monkey god, and to offer him gifts.
Leave a pear for Hanuman.
The strongest person in the world. When he was a kid, he wanted to pick up the sun, he ate it. So the whole world went into darkness.
You seem to be a big fan of Hanuman.
Yeah. I'm a believer, I would say. I'm a believer. There was lots of monkeys. I think they've taken all on the way. I don't know why the reason was. I think because the monkeys was getting aggressive. Or well, I mean, they was not aggressive. If you're carrying fruits, the they'll come and pinch the fruit.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye.
This untouchable god now has a market value that is much higher than its spiritual one. Far from the tropical forest, he and his fellow kind now live under tight security in discreet farms that specialize in raising laboratory monkeys. After weeks of negotiations, one of these farms agreed to let me visit. I think it's over there. We're visiting Bioculture, the first business to set up in this industry in 1984. Today it exports monkeys by the thousand to the biggest pharmaceutical laboratories in the world. The business is as profitable as it is discreet. The monkey farm, is it over there?
Yes.
Thanks. Bioculture agreed to let me visit. But despite the smiles, Nada, the manager, is defensive.
Bah oui, moi aussi.
So the plan is to visit the farm, and what after?
The plan is first to meet each other and then see if it's possible to do something like that. Will we know what he's filming there?
You can see what he's filming.
Okay.
You can see what we're filming. The monkey breeders have repeatedly been criticized by animal rights activists who accuse them of abuse.
That's our logo. So what does it look like?
Well, a monkey.
Yes.
With a baby monkey.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, exactly. And that tells you that we take care of life.
Of life.
Bio is life. The culture of life. We take care of life.
That's quite a policy. Have I travelled 10,000 kilometres just for that?
That's a certification for the standard of care of the animals to ensure the well-being of the animals, and we've had the accreditation first time, every time.
Bravo.
Finally, here's the hidden treasure of bioculture. Here we find 16,000 monkeys in over a dozen hectares. This profitable business began by capturing macaques on farmers' lands.
It's an animal which devastates croplands, which devastates orchards, which causes a lot of problems for the environment, to the biodiversity of Mauritius.
So the basic idea is to regulate these monkeys, and then?
Of course. And as time went on, we realized that the specificity of the Mauritian monkey is very important for medical research.
You realized that you had gold on your island.
Of course.
The gold is these crab-eating macaques, a species much more resistant to disease than their Asian cousins that are traditionally found in labs. The company finally agrees to take me to see them up close, on the condition that I cover myself from head to foot. OK, let's go.
Let's go.
The visit will be with an escort. We're quite a crew here.
So these are the breeding cages. So there are adults, mothers, fathers and babies from 0 to 15 months.
To be honest, the macaques don't seem traumatized. Hello, that one's cute.
They're all cute.
They seem free. They have games to play with. Here, the babies are brought up by the mother for 15 months. Bioculture aims to produce higher quality lab monkeys. Far from the giant farms of Southeast Asia, where the animals are confined without daylight, as shown by these images taken with a hidden camera by an English charity.
In Southeast Asia, they farm monkeys just to produce the highest quantity possible.
And you?
No, we produce Rolls-Royces.
Nothing but that.
That's right.
Here, no Rolls-Royce is worth less than €1,000 each. And what makes them so valuable then?
Here we make sure they're always in good health and are used to humans. Let's go.
Bioculture's commitment is to deliver animals that are ready to be used and easily manipulated. For that, they get the animals used to the researchers' instruments by feeding them by syringe.
Do you want to try?
OK, that way they won't be too afraid afterwards in their future life. Their future life, the basement of American and European pharmaceutical laboratories where drugs will be tested on them, or in research institutes where they are used to study brain diseases such as Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. Every year this business brings in €3 million for bioculture. French researchers are particularly keen on the Mauritian macaque. Last year, nearly 2,000 of them were sent to France. That's twice as many as 5 years ago. Monkeys are just a drop in the water in the ocean of research. The primates only represent 0.1% of the tens of millions of animals that pass under the scalpel each year worldwide. The star of the lab benches is the mouse. Quick to develop and easy to breed, it represents 60% of the animals tested on. Just in France, nearly 4,000 are sacrificed each day. Our laboratories are real menageries. Rats, rabbits, birds, sheep, ferrets, fish, pigs, cats, and even dogs. 12 million animals are subjected to testing each year in European labs. They're behind all of our medication. We have them to thank for many medical innovations like hip replacements. Thanks to these animals, who knows, one day tetraplegics may be able to walk again. For over 50 years, researchers swear by animal testing. However, we'll show that it has many limits. The first is that the results of each experiment depend totally on the chosen animal. Researchers have hundreds of different rodents available. Each one has its own specialty. Here are a few of our own rats in a show.
Attends. T'es prêt? Si je le pose, attends, je sais juste le poser. Ouais.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Ah, c'est pas mal.
That's not bad. Super. OK, let's go.
Oh merde. Plutôt par ici. Plutôt par ici. Voilà. Et allez, on peut pas le coller ce machin parce que...
Tu veux la bonne banane?
Et le bout de fromage.
Cheese, careful.
Viens mon devant. Ouais.
Attention.
Mind the camera and the others asleep.
Et l'autre qui dort là.
Our show is a fiasco.
I think you've got a rat on you.
So we're going to take the easier route.
Long Evans.
Here is the Long Evans. He's very intelligent and has been used in many behavioural studies like resistance to stress.
Brown Norway.
The brown Norway has bad eyesight. He is principally used in ophthalmic research.
Fawn Hooded.
The fawn hooded becomes very addicted to alcohol, the perfect subject for depression and anxiety.
Sprague-Dawley.
Finally, Sprague-Dawley, one of the favourites of scientists who mainly use him in cancer research because he easily develops a number of tumours. The problem is that, depending on the rodent used, the results of an experiment can vary dramatically, with potentially disastrous consequences for human health. One striking example, bisphenol A. You've surely heard of it. Bisphenol A is a chemical compound present in plastic that makes it resistant to shocks and heat. It's found in many household objects such as water bottles, plastic boxes, pens and keyboards. Hundreds of researchers claim that bisphenol A severely diminishes fertility in men. However, one of the most influential studies on the subject completely exonerates the product. It has been picked up by the highest European health authority, the EFSA. Bisphenol A should not be considered a selective reproductive toxicant based on the result of this study. To reach these conclusions, researchers used several thousands of rats of one particular species. When we look more closely at this study, it was carried out on one specific species of rat, the Sprague-Dawley. If you recall, the Sprague-Dawley has an albino coat and red eyes. If bisphenol has no effect on him, it's for a very good reason. On the other side of the Atlantic, a scientist is going to explain why using this rat to measure the dangers of bisphenol is absurd.
So we're going to Colombia, please.
Oh, what are you doing in Colombia?
I actually go to see a researcher at the University of Colombia who's going to talk about my rat.
No, is that the rat with the ear in the back of it?
Yeah.
We're home of Brad Pitt. That's where I went to school.
Really?
Brad Pitt. You want me to go in there and get his phone number for you?
No, that's fine, thank you.
No time to waste with Brad Pitt. I have a meeting with an American researcher who's known worldwide for his work on bisphenol A.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
Frederick from Zaal is the first researcher to have warned of the dangers of this chemical in 1997.
I bought my rat.
Bisphenol A may affect our reproductive system. For the scientists, using the Sprague-Dawley was always going to produce skewed results. This species has a very efficient reproductive system.
Oops.
This is called selective breeding. Every generation, they would take the female that produced the biggest litter and breed her to a male that also produced a very large litter. And they did this over and over for 50 years.
Testing the impact of this product on fertility on this rat is, according to him, scientifically absurd.
If you give this animal a human birth control pill, it shows no response.
If I take birth control pill, my reproductive system stops. But
Yes.
if this rat takes one, it keeps making babies.
Yes. If you have an animal that is hyper-fertile, abnormally fertile, it is not an appropriate animal to... Sorry, hold it. Come back.
It's not an appropriate animal.
It is not appropriate to use that as a model for the effect of a chemical on fertility.
Frederick from Zaal carried out his own experiment on bisphenol A, this time with
CF1.
the CF1 rat, who has a much more sensitive reproductive system. His study gave totally opposite results to the one carried out on the Sprague-Dawley.
We gave the mothers, this is during pregnancy, a very, very low dose of BPA, and the male offspring in adulthood, the BPA at this dose reduced the daily production of sperm by over 10 million a day. And at a dose about 3,000 times higher, they still see nothing.
It's hard for the public to understand what species says the right thing.
This rat is thousands of times less sensitive to BPA than the mice that we use. We do not just want to protect the least sensitive human. We want to protect all humans, including the most sensitive.
The specifics of this animal are well known in the scientific community.
Is normal at 300.
Was choosing this rat a mistake or a deliberate decision?
50, 60.
The researcher who carried out this study is an American, Rochelle Till, a renowned toxicologist, but not really independent. Her work was financed by a business consortium from the plastic industry. Among her sponsors, Dow Chemical, the biggest producer of plastics in the world. Bayer, the chemical industry giant, and Shell, the famous oil company. These multinationals produce millions of tons of plastic each year and so use bisphenol A. For Frederick von Zaal, the study used as a reference for this product was in fact paid for.
Maybe Mrs. Style didn't know about this rat problem.
She was paid over $2 million to do this study by the American Chemistry Council. They didn't pay her that money because she is stupid. BPA last year generated $15 billion in profits. What is at stake is billions of dollars, and you are going to do whatever you can to make it seem that the chemical is safe. That is consistent with the law, so it isn't criminal.
Although she was overwhelmed by criticism from many colleagues, Rochelle Till has never looked back at the conclusions from her study. How does she justify the use of the Sprague D rat? Today she's retired. We tried to contact her.
Hi, Mrs. Style, this is Aude Favre. I'm the French journalist from Canal+. I tried to reach you many times. If you can just please call me back so we can discuss why you used the Sprague D rat. It would be really great.
Rochelle Till never called me back. Although controversial, her study is still used as a reference in Europe, as it is for the European Food Safety Authority, the EFSA, which maintains that bisphenol A is harmless. Nevertheless, the substance has been banned in France as a precaution in baby bottles and food containers. Rochelle Till's study isn't an isolated case. As soon as they are ordered by the industry, all of the animal studies clear bisphenol A. This is what we call the funding effect. Researchers have many techniques to obtain the results wanted by their sponsors.
The outcome of an experiment can be altered by stress, by the type of food you are using, by how you are handling your animals, by the strain of the animal you are using. You can alter the outcome to achieve the results that you want to achieve.
An animal that can be manipulated on demand. That's not the only problem with animal testing. Other scientists criticise the rigour and the usefulness of the experiments. We head to Edinburgh in Scotland. We have a meeting with a renowned neurologist.
Hey, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Very well. Nice to see you.
Malcolm MacLeod's studies are published in the biggest scientific reviews in the world. He works regularly with stroke victims.
This is you. Hello again. Hello again. So thank you. So show me what you can do with that good right hand. Can you? And what can you do with?
During his career, he's carried out many studies with animals. According to him, most researchers do not respect two rules that are considered essential to have reliable results. Explanation. Rule number 1. Researchers must choose their animals at random. Instead, whether unconsciously or not, they usually use the ones that suit them.
It's like that game of soccer in the school playground where one person gets to pick 10 players before the other person gets to pick any. There's a way that you select the animals that introduces a bias.
Rule number 2. To be sound, the results of a study should be analysed by a second researcher who doesn't know the dosages administered to the animals. Over 80% of studies don't respect this rule. Conclusion, the majority of animal tests are not scientifically sound.
I have from your number, it's 30% randomization and
30%, 5%, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Probably 2/3 are actively wrong. Some will be...
2/3 of the publications we see.
Yeah. What they describe doesn't represent underlying biological truth.
Whatever the researchers...
Doesn't matter what field of research, it doesn't matter what journal it's published in, it doesn't matter who funded the research, it doesn't matter what country it's done in, it doesn't matter whether the scientist won a Nobel Prize for it. We're all bad at this.
So why don't researchers do that?
You know, we don't get paid a great deal. People are on short-term contracts. They're always worrying about their next job, and where they get their next job will depend on the work they've done and what they've published. And I think people worry that if they do high-quality research that shows there's nothing there, they won't be able to get that work published, and so they won't get their next job.
Falsified studies in laboratory animals. The subject is taboo. Nobody in France was willing to talk to us about it on camera.
Bonjour.
Hello? We contacted the Pasteur Institute, an internationally renowned research establishment who use thousands of animals each year. A manager confirmed that best practices are not always respected. How does it work where you are?
I try to explain to people that we need a non-biased approach.
And what do they say?
They say, yeah, that's fascinating.
Why?
Because people want to publish quickly, because they love their theories and they oversell them. The scandal is that far too many things that in reality are false are published. Far too much waste, and on one hand, nobody cares.
Sorry, what is the scandal?
That nobody cares, and my colleagues seem to forget that they're dealing with living creatures, and they kill dozens of rats for terrible projects.
OK, thanks. Next, I call INSERM, the French Institute of Health and Medical Research, who use many guinea pigs. A scientist confirms that they are far from being strict. The researchers start the experiments already knowing what they're going to find.
Yes, absolutely. And if they don't find it, they find a way to make sure they do.
But how can they find a way to find something that doesn't exist?
When part of an experiment is correct, you take the part you like and get rid of the rest.
But that's a big deal. We expect scientists to have a certain scientific rigor. That's their job, isn't it?
Scientists are not saints. When they have too much pressure, they're just like everyone else. If you're told that if you don't publish, you won't get any money to continue to work, then you publish.
But things that are false?
Things that aren't completely true. You mustn't repeat this. I'm telling you because you're a journalist. INSERM would kill me for telling you this. You have no idea.
OK, thanks. Goodbye.
Au revoir.
Around 10 million animals are used each year in potentially biased studies. And this isn't the only problem. Experiments carried out like this considerably slow down the discovery of new drugs. This is what Malcolm McLeod finds as a neurologist every day.
600 drugs that have been tested in animal models of stroke, of which 1 work in humans.
It's quite impressive.
It's still not very good.
You heard correctly. Of 600 drugs tested on animals, 599 failed on humans, and that's just for strokes. But whatever the field of research, more than 8 times out of 10, a drug that works on animals doesn't work on us. That's why nowadays many scientists are suggesting alternatives to animal testing. Some of them are completely revolutionary. This Harvard researcher synthesizes human organs on electronic chips before going on to animal testing.
There's a multitude of facts in this tiny chip. At this institute, we've done just that. We call it an organ on a chip for the cells. And I have right here in my hand is a breathing, living human lung on a chip. So we can begin to
It will still be a few years before this human on a chip sees the light of day.
What we call a virtual human on a chip. Thank you.
However, some alternative methods have been ready for use for years. In the United States, I have a meeting at one of the most prestigious medical faculties in the world, Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. Professor Thomas Hartung has devoted his career to researching alternatives to animal testing.
Hello. How are you?
Hello. Nice finally meeting you.
Yes.
Bonjour. Bonjour and
Bonjour,
bienvenue.
Thomas. Merci beaucoup. So, what was wrong with the animal model? In your point of view, Wolf?
Yeah, very simple. We are not 70-kilogram rats. Yeah, we are very different to them. A mouse and a rat predict each other only by about 60%. And there's no reason to assume that they predict us better than they predict each other. So, from my point of view, we are doing something completely wrong by focusing too much on the animal.
Thomas Hartung has found a way to replace animals in experiments that are carried out by every pharmaceutical laboratory on each batch of vaccinations before their commercialisation. They have to ensure that the injected liquid doesn't cause high fevers in humans. It's called a pyrogen test. Traditionally, it's rabbits who get stuck with it. Restrained in cages, the vaccination is injected into their ears and their temperature is measured with a thermometer that can be seen on these images filmed by an English charity. If the rabbit has no fever, the batch of vaccinations is commercialised. Otherwise, it is removed and the rabbit sometimes killed. Thomas Hartung has invented an alternative to the pyrogen test. He simply replaces rabbits with human blood.
So you are a rabbit today?
I will be the rabbit substitute. Okay. So this would be sufficient to replace 100 rabbits.
His alternative is called MAT. To show us how it works, he's going to mix a drop of his blood with several batches of vaccine to test it.
Just one droplet. And now, if something is in, the blood cells will send out alarm signals, which normally would reach my brain and produce fever.
After a few hours of tests, he adds the mixtures to this tray. The contaminated batches change colours.
Okay, now let's see what happened. Here we have a yellow. This yellow means there was a contamination. So this rabbit would have had fever.
Thomas Hartung has won 8 prizes for his invention. 10 years ago, the scientific reliability of the MAT was recognised by the highest European authorities. In principle, this test has everything a lab could want.
First of all, it is a human fever test, not a rabbit fever test. Secondly, and this is making it also faster, more cost-effective, and we get a clear result. Yeah? We can measure this very precisely. A rabbit has a bit of fever. We often have reactions which are not clear, and we need more and more rabbits to get the result. So it is animal welfare, it is human safety.
So do laboratories use this alternative method? After several weeks of investigation, we find a company that runs pyrogen tests for French pharmaceutical groups. To get access, we call on a professional from the field to wear a hidden camera.
Arrivé.
Good luck.
Thanks. See you later.
See you later. He pretends to be a potential client.
Hello.
The sales manager gives him a tour of the building. Here, experiments are carried out on hamsters, mice, rats.
Here is the autopsy room.
You take care of the euthanasia at the end?
Yes, we take care of the euthanasia of the animals.
And also rabbits.
And this is the rabbit area.
The pyrogen test is the rabbit test?
Yes, yes.
There's no other methods?
No. So we stick to the rabbits.
OK.
Although the alternative has been available for 20 years, here they stick to the animals.
Latest model, little plastic mats for the rabbits' feet. And of course they're transparent so they can see the others. So it's good. Rabbits are happy.
Happy. Perhaps they'd be a bit happier if they were replaced by the MAT. But it's not the house policy. A few days later, we contact the company director to find out why they don't use the alternative. Surprise, they don't even know it exists.
I don't know that test. We're a small laboratory. We get a dozen requests per day, but nobody has ever requested that.
So you've never heard of the MAT?
No, I've never heard of it.
OK, thanks. Goodbye. However, a European directive recommends using the 3R rule in laboratories. Replace the animals as soon as possible, reduce their number, reduce their suffering. For the pyrogen test, practically no labs have replaced rabbits by the MAT. If this alternative had been systematically used since it was introduced, over 2 million rabbits would have been saved in Europe. According to a recent report, 150,000 rabbits are currently subjected to pyrogen tests each year.
How did you feel when you saw those figures?
I said, this is a disaster. Because, for 20 years there's now a solution which has been accepted in Europe, in the US, by the FDA, and still people are not using the test to the extent possible.
But there is a law in Europe which says you have to go with the alternative, so you should be a millionaire.
But the law is not enforced. There's nobody enforcing it. There's no authority. There's no police for alternative methods. For example, if you say you must not go cross the street at red lights, and there's no penalty, so you still go.
The law doesn't oblige laboratories to change their practices. In the case of the pyrogen test, another European regulation actually encourages them to continue testing on animals. The European Pharmacopoeia is the Bible of pharmaceuticals in Europe. It describes all of the tests that a laboratory must carry out to ensure the quality of its drugs. For the pyrogen test, the reference remains rabbits. The test involves measuring the temperature rise that is caused in rabbits. Pyrogen equals rabbit. Why is the MAT not required in Europe? I had a meeting with the head of integration of alternative methods into the European Pharmacopoeia, the scientist Emmanuel Charton.
Bonjour. Enchantée. Merci.
As nobody shows me any animals, I've brought my little rabbit.
Great. What's his name?
He doesn't have one. Do you want to name him?
Maybe Peter Rabbit?
Peter Rabbit. Perfect. Hello, Peter Rabbit. So our rabbit is taking part in pyrogen tests when there are alternative methods that are supposed to be imposed by law, like the MAT.
For the moment, it is not imposed, because for that we need to be sure that it will work on the drug in question. And it's up to the user to validate this method to be sure that it works on the drug in question.
Although the reliability of the MAT is officially recognised, Emmanuel Chaton still doubts its effectiveness. The head of integration of alternative methods into the European Pharmacopoeia prefers the old methods to the MAT.
It doesn't work as well as a rabbit. Something in the ear, thermometer in the bottom, that works.
That was very clear.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you and have a good day.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. To resume, the pharmacopoeia's reticence to adopt new methods means that our rabbits are not ready to leave their cages yet. I'm leaving it for them. Despite what we may think, medicine is not the only industry that uses animals for its experiments. Without knowing it, every day we buy products whose ingredients have been tested on our friends, the animals. Baby nappies, scented candles, dishwasher tablets. Dozens of thousands of animals have been subjected to tests to assess the toxicity of these products' contacts with us. Sometimes dogs are used, as is the case for this particularly toxic insecticide. Thanks to the guinea pigs, we know, for example, that this washing powder can cause skin irritation. And this detergent, a severe eye irritation. So really, if you can do somersault safety, it's thanks to them. Only one section is definitely safe from animal testing, the cosmetics section. Deodorants, toothpaste, epilation creams, makeup. In 2013, a European law banned the use of animal testing for these products.
Also in the news, a victory for defenders of animal rights. Beauty products will no longer be tested on rabbits, mice or other animals. This complete ban is effective immediately in Europe.
Several brands that have historically been against animal testing immediately congratulated themselves on this decision, like Body Shop, who paraded rabbits who had been released from their cages. Their competitors, Lush, let loose with a Harlem Shake to celebrate the event. Their products have a strong slogan, fighting animal testing. What is all their militancy actually worth? Not much, as cosmetics are all made up of chemical substances, and chemical products are always tested on animals. For example, in this Lush face powder. Stearic acid, also present in paints, was tested on hamsters. Glycerin, which is also found in electronic cigarettes, tested on rabbits. And titanium dioxide, a dye found in some plastics, tested on more than 200 rats last year. Does Lush think its consumers are suckers? The brand refused our requests for an interview. Its communication department replied to us by email. Titanium dioxide is currently in our orange list of problematic ingredients. We will remove them from our products when possible, but will perhaps make an exception and continue to buy from our regular suppliers. Titanium dioxide tested on 200 rats can be found in many brands: Yves Rocher, Nux, Clarin, Estée Lauder, Neutrogena, Mevita, Organic Cosmetics and also Body Shop, a brand who is against animal testing, as they proudly label on their products. Body Shop belongs to the L'Oréal Group, the worldwide leader for beauty. I have a meeting with the Life Sciences Research Director, who's agreed to see me, under the watchful eye of his communication department.
Bonjour.
Hello, Aude.
Hello.
Bonjour.
So you are Mr. Leclerc?
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc maintains that Body Shop doesn't do any tests on animals. Well, I did my shopping yesterday and went to Body Shop and still found... But to my great surprise, he admits that the company does buy chemical ingredients that have been tested on animals by their manufacturers. A mascara, a lipstick. It's impossible to say that there are no ingredients tested on animals in these products.
It is possible that because of this chemical regulation, that some of our products may contain products that have been tested on animals. But L'Oréal weren't the ones who ordered these tests.
It's not us. You can't put those together.
But is that you or not you?
Not for cosmetics.
The consumer just wants to know if it has been tested on animals or not.
Well, yes, but again, what do you want us to do?
Well, you could remove those ingredients, I don't know.
We're going to be very clear. I think finding examples of chemical products that have never been tested on animals would be extremely difficult, or even impossible. In all honesty, you have to be a bit more realistic and stop dreaming.
It was a party. Rabbits having a party. They really had us going with their rabbits freed from their laboratory cages. Have you seen this video? You believed it too, didn't you? Today, scientists are fighting for a total ban on all animal testing over all industries. Last May, several of them went to Brussels to request a law that would generalise these alternative methods. Behind them were over 1 million European citizens gathered under a Stop Vivisection banner, a historical moment. Maurice Whelan is head of the European Centre for the Validation of Alternative Methods.
Okay, so what did you think of this morning?
Well, it's a transition, isn't it? That's the animal tests were developed, in the US after some serious food scares in the 50s and 60s, and it was done to protect human health, and people did what they could do at the time with the tools they had. I think what we're all saying as scientists now is that the time has come and has been here for a while to look again at how we can achieve our goals in terms of, using a new toolbox.
Obviously, but as you see,
By wanting to ban animal testing, these researchers are threatening a large number of industries. 167 laboratories and research institutes have counter-attacked by sending this letter to the MEPs. The citizens' initiative Stop Vivisection must be fought. Animal research is indispensable to improve human and animal health in Europe and worldwide. For André Ménage, vet and president of an anti-animal testing charity, mentalities will take a while to change.
There's so much in play. It's the chemical industry, the cosmetics industry, researchers, the careers of millions of people. So it's very complex, very, very complicated.
Will these abolitionist researchers at least manage to get their arguments heard?
That animal testing is not a necessary evil, which is what we've been sold for years and years and years. We can take away the necessary because we have the technology. All that's left is the evil. Thank you.
The battle is even tougher because opposite them are many MEPs who are established through the pharmaceutical industry, like Françoise Grossetête, chair of the European Alliance Against Alzheimer's Disease.
All of these results would not have been possible without testing on rodents, primates and pigs. So yes, we need this research to continue.
2 months later, the European Commission finally reaffirms its allegiance to animal testing. Will Felix's companions one day be free from the scalpel? I doubt that will be any time soon. 115 million animals are used in research every year worldwide. Since you have been watching this report, over 13,000 guinea pigs have been killed for experimental purposes.